The best movies of 2022. Obviously, these are just my opinions. I'm sure your list would look very different. Starting the list off at number 5, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And I know when this movie first came out, I remember people were losing their minds about how amazing this was, how this was their favorite movie of all time, definitely their favorite movie of the year. And I think by the time I finally got around to watching the movie, I really enjoyed it. Obviously, it's in my top 5. I just don't think I loved it as much as everyone else. I still thought that it was very unique. It was very different. It was stylized insanely well with the cinematography and just everything that went on with how this movie was visually presented on screen. I could not believe how low the budget was compared to most blockbuster like movies. This was the A24 film, so you know they didn't have a big budget. I thought the cast was really good. Michelle Yeoh is proving that she can still be a leading lady, not just as far as the acting goes, but the fighting and the martial arts that she was exhibiting. I appreciated the whole idea of multiple universes. It seems like that's a trendy story to touch on, given the superhero genre tapping into that currently, but also the way how this movie let you tap into what your other personalities or what your other universe versions of yourself are like. At number 4, Glass Onion. Here's a movie that I wasn't quite sure what to think. I didn't know if it was going to be as good as Knives Out. Knives Out was something that I very much enjoyed. This movie was able to accomplish the same. And I'm not saying that it was as good as Knives Out, but I was very impressed with the story, with the murder mystery that went on. I think Rian Johnson, given the fact that maybe big franchise movies is not the best forte to dabble your talents in. He clearly is a talented writer. He clearly is a talented director. And I think doing more original type movies. And hell, given this format, you could just have Daniel Craig come back as Detective Benoit. And he could just cover different stories, different cases, every movie with a different cast, a different situation going on. This cast between Kate Hudson, Jessica Henwick, Edward Norton, who was such a douchebag, man, Catherine Hahn, and Janelle Monáe. Wow, Janelle Monáe was amazing. At number 3, Barbarian. Now, this might not surprise people who saw my favorite horror movies of this past year because Barbarian was number 1, but I enjoyed it so much that I had to also put it in my top 5 because this movie also caught me by surprise. Also, I didn't know what to expect, and I think it far exceeded my expectations. I just appreciate when a horror movie, because I love horror, I do. I love horror. It's just sometimes it's hard because I feel like either most people go the lazy route with horror, or they don't try as hard with the writing and the acting, or I just set myself up for failure. But with this one, I was so impressed with the freshness of it, with how different the movie felt, and then how we end up taking a detour almost halfway through. The movie's very bloody and gory, and so I appreciated that. Number 2, Top Gun Maverick. Talk about a movie that I just did not think I cared about, right? I had not even seen the original Top Gun until getting ready for this particular sequel. Given that it's over 30 years later, given that some people might have their preconceived opinions of Tom Cruise, and then you get into the debate on whether or not Tom Cruise is still a movie star, whether he can still carry a film. But clearly with the success, with the money that this movie racked in, Cruise he does have that movie star quality. He does have that leading man ability still after all these years. You did bring a lot of the baggage that came with the first film as far as his best friend Goose dying and him trying to look out for the son, Miles Teller. When you get to the part where Cruise is having to teach the younger students how to fly the planes, how to carry out their missions and go against the enemy, And that whole third act, man, oh man, it's amazing how much of a suspense thrill ride this was. So now we are at my number one favorite movie of 2022. Yeah, it's the Batman, of course. If this movie wasn't great, I wouldn't have it as number one. It's not like just because it's Batman, it's number one. I really enjoyed the dark take of this. I really enjoyed the serious take of this. Yes, I have my Nolan movies. Yes, there probably will never be a better Batman movie than The Dark Knight, but I still appreciate that we can dabble in that similar tone. I thought Matt Reeves bringing the goth element, and even though it's not set in the 90s, it feels very 90s. I love the Nirvana song. I love the way that this movie shot. I love the opening of being in the criminal's point of view as they're scared and looking into the shadows and just waiting for Batman to pop out. I loved his relationship with Gordon and how him and Gordon, it's the only people that they can trust in this city. I really enjoyed Selena Kyle. She had her own agenda, sure, but she wasn't a flat out criminal. You could tell that this is also very much her origin as well. And the Riddler, this take on the Riddler, very different, very creepy, very probably more of a horror like route, but I appreciate it. I appreciated Paul Dano. I appreciated the weirdness of him. It's a well built Gotham, growing out the characters, growing out the mythology. What more can I say? The Batman was something special. The anticipation was high. And I think the fact that it lived up and even exceeded in some ways. So guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think not only of my list, but what are your top favorite movies of 2022? Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later.